Hey folks, Will Brink here, www.brinkzone.com, and today I want to address the topic of training over 40. It's a question I get, and I haven't really addressed it straight on, so I'm going to do that a bit in this video. And the first question you have to ask is, well, why 40? Why is this sort of a dividing line? 40 is sort of a dividing line, give or take a few years, plus or minus for different people, but around 40 is when most people's hormones tend to take a fairly steep drop. And be it women or men, there can be a fairly a noticeable drop in hormones, testosterone, DHEA, and estrogen for women, and there are changes in our bodies around 40, give or take again. But that seems to be a fairly consistent dividing line for a lot of people. So the first thing I'm going to say, as I always do, get your hormones checked. I do have articles and other videos regarding hormones, which hormones and such, but if your hormones are subpar, it explains a whole lot of why after you turn 40 all of a sudden you were tired or you had more aches and pains, you couldn't recuperate, and so on and so forth. So that's right from the get-go. My advice has always been, I think that everybody after 40 should have all of their major hormones tested yearly. And that is a lot more often than most medical doctors may recommend. That's my personal recommendation. So let's go forward. I'm in my mid-40s, so I certainly know what it's like to train after 40. I can give you obviously experience, and I can give you some take-home. So what should you do differently after 40 that you didn't do before? And the answer is nothing. The real answer is what you need to do beyond 40 is all the things you probably didn't bother with in your 20s and your 30s. And that might be, again, proper warm-up, that might be proper loading, understanding things such as loading, volume, intensity, knowing how to deload, understanding various directional pushing and pulling type exercises, having to do with muscle imbalances. What happens over years and years, if your programming is not very good, that is, you tend to overemphasize one body part over another. Years and years and years go by. What happens is you end up with muscle imbalances, which then grind away on the joints and the ligaments and the tendons, and you end up with aches and pains and injury. Now, this discussion is not for people with acute injuries, a specific shoulder injury, a specific knee injury, or something like that. This is for those people, like I say, who are, gotten into their 40s or whatever, and noticing that they just don't recoup like they used to, and things aren't coming as easy as they used to, and what should I do differently? And like I say, the answer is actually nothing. What you need to do differently, per se, is what you, like I say, should have been doing all along in your 20s and 30s, but didn't maybe pay attention to. You got away with not doing it. That's really the true difference. You just have to pay a lot more attention to those specific issues that you really just can't get away with ignoring. Like I say, proper warm-ups, form on certain exercises, the whole gambit of what makes good programming, what makes effective lifting. And like I say, when I was 20, a warm-up to me was walking to the gym out of the cold, one set on the bench press with the bar. That was a warm-up. That's not a warm-up. I'm lucky. I've never had a major injury because I have generally paid attention to all of those perimeters of a good program. For the most part, like everybody, I started off like lots of people, just sort of doing what I felt like. So the answer is there's nothing magical at 40 or 40 plus, whatever you need to change. You need to follow all the same rules of progressive resistance and deloading programs when you need to and such. The real deal is you have to do it now, whereas before it was a choice and you might have paid attention, you didn't. That's really the major difference at training past 40. Now, the only thing I would say to that, of course, also our goals change. I mean, your goals at 40 for a lot of people, including myself, is not just about being maximally strong all the time. I mean, I'm also have gotten much more into training more in the functional realm and stuff, and that's fine, but that's a different conversation. But as far as the emails I get a lot, hey Will, I'm 43 or whatever, and I just don't seem to recoup like I did, and I've got aches and pains, and what should I do differently? Like I say, the answer is nothing. The answer is you really have to start paying attention to all those things you really didn't pay much attention to in your 20s and 30s that you now have to pay attention to. So I hope that is useful info, and if it is, please hit the like and the Twitter and all that. Help a brother out, and I'll see you all on the Brink Zone. Now, for more information on this topic, head on over to www.brinkzone.com, where you'll find my blog, more videos for reports on fat loss, muscle building supplementation, fitness, health, and longevity, as well as a ton of articles in my free weekly fitness newsletter. and I'll see you all on the Brink Zone.